Now, another episode of Sup with Bro. What are we going to talk about? How about the 9 to 5? Just having one of those, it may just allow you the time to waste time, the time to abandon yourself, the time to even forget about your own goals, dreams, and ambitions. And here's what is interesting. There are times in life when you get rejected. Whether it is you apply to a job and you get the infamous, after careful review, we've decided not to move forward with your application. That email. And then, of course, even the idea of the place that you work at, you may say to them, hey, here's a proposal for this idea that I have that could make things better at the institution or at the organization. And they look at you and say, yeah, we'll look into it. And they either scrap it all together, or worse, they tell you that them don't care, and then they take your idea and make a lot of money with it and don't give you any credit. That can happen too. But what's the takeaway? The takeaway is this: rejection is often not even redirection, but rejection is reflection. Because you see, you threw it. It bounced off of them and it come back to you. It wasn't meant for them. It's meant for you. So you might have an idea based on things that you've even experienced at the 9 to 5. Yeah? You might say, well, aren't you tired of being at the bus stop waiting for hours and hours and hours, waiting on something to take you home? Aren't you tired of waiting on at the bus stop to get something to go to work, and then when you're done with work you have to do that again, and you have to do that 5 times, times 3? So wait, get the bus, reach the work, then you have to leave work, do the same dance again, go back home. A lot of time is being wasted there. And see, money, compensation, that's all well and good, but there's no replacement for time. You can replace money, but you can't get back time. So now we're going to get into a few of my favorite analogies, right? Most of all, and least of all, but most of all, it comes back to a game of, comes right back to a game of chess. There are times in a game when you need to make what's known as a tactical retreat. So for example, there's a square that you jump to, possibly a knight going to g4, and your opponent, being white, push h2 to h3, and before you know it, your knight not safe anymore, and you have to make a tactical retreat or move to a more desirable square, a safer square than right there. What's the point of that analogy? It's the act of knowing when to walk away. For example, if you are working in a 9 to 5 and you find that the job is more punitive than it is rewarding, to the left, and people then are going to wonder why you really left. But if it is more punitive than it is rewarding, another example of that could be discussed in the form of a technique in chess known as overloading. Now, for example, you have 3 pieces attacking 1 square, and your opponent have 5 pieces defending that square. There are too many attackers or too many defenders. And that coming like you're going to one store, you take up an item, them go boop, and you have $300 and them look at you and say 520. And you go, oh. Well, for the sake of this analogy, you have $300, them say that the item costs 5. Yeah? You say, well, you have to go. You have to know when to walk away. You have to walk well if that, because you don't have enough to buy that item. The same thing happens in chess. And it's the same when you're working in 9 to 5 and then you find, well, this is more punitive than it is rewarding. I find that I am, it's like I'm being punished more than I'm being rewarded. So why continue? You know? So that's pretty much the idea behind that. In other words, if it's costing you more than it's paying you, you probably should, stage left. Now, we're going to talk a little bit of MMA as it pertains to flexibility. And even chess will come up again. You see, in MMA, there were discussions about 2 particular champions. There was John Jones and there was Israel Adesanya. And if we're going to use chess pieces as analogies, John Jones would have been a queen on a chessboard. Not in gender, but you get the point. Going over to Adesanya, Adesanya is a rook. He has his striking, but there's no threat of a takedown. No threat of that whatsoever. Yeah? And he even went up a weight class and lost that fight because he did not have the threat of a takedown. Not enough takedown defense, he got taken down. Flexibility. That is what is needed for success in MMA and success overall. So, what's the point of this analogy? Go to your employer or your boss right now and suggest, just even hint or suggest it, that hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could come in, or rather, wouldn't it be cool if Monday to Friday we work for you, but we work from home, and then on Saturdays and Sundays we come in face to face? Wouldn't that be an excellent trade-off? And you still get your productivity, we still get paid, and we cut out all the unnecessary travel back and forth and all of that. More productive. What do you think about that? You know what's gonna happen? To put a long story short, they're gonna flat out reject it. They're gonna look at you and say, that's not possible. There's no way we can entertain that possibility. The idea of you working from home, no. You have to come in here Monday to Friday, and that's it. No negotiation. Yeah? So in other words, the idea of grappling, you know, upon that. Hence why Israel Adesanya had problems in a lot of his fights. If you don't have the threat of a takedown, if they're beating you in the stand-up, you have no other weapon at your disposal. None. No alternative. It's like only having a 9 to 5. You need to have flexibility. So therefore, you get the vibes. And continuing the episodes of SUP with B.R.O, imagine that. Imagine what we spoke about earlier. You leaving behind an opportunity like that. You bring that idea to your employer and they're like, nah, we're not having that. Fine. It's just like this. You see, there might have been a square that they were defending, and they moved from here to there, but they were defending this. And now that they've gone up here, they might still be looking at it, but as if, it's a night. But you get the point. There are times when your piece moves away from a square, and by moving away from the square, suddenly the thing that they were defending that was so strong before is now weaker because you've lost one of your own defenders. And most times when you see somebody make a move away from something, it's your job to know, yeah, encroach on the territory. Yeah. If them drop it, take it up. So you wouldn't do that for your company or your organization. Oh, I'm going to offer that. Yeah, man. Because think about it. Imagine you looking at somebody and saying, would you like to work for me? No. Hold on. Wait. Before you say no, I'm offering this. Imagine working from home Monday to Friday and you only have to come in Saturday and Sunday if you want. Nobody else is offering that. What do you say? All of a sudden people, yeah, scratch your head, yeah, scratch your head. All of a sudden you get to thinking, no, because all of a sudden you were playing bullet and blitz before, and now all of a sudden you start move like you're classical now. You start move a little 10-minute rapid. Got you thinking. You know, one thinking spell no. Now I did say I fancy myself a CCO and not a CEO, which is a content creator opportunist, which basically means creating the opportunity instead of seeking the opportunity. Yeah, if you were wondering what that was. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I love about the game of chess as it applies to this business. Now, in the game of chess and in the game of life, with the right amount of steps, the pawn gets a promotion. Now, why did I pick the queen? It goes right back to flexibility. The queen can look this way and that way, right? It can look directly at you as well as diagonally left and right. Whereas the rook can only look like this. The bishop can only look like this. You understand? So the queen has both of their qualities. So therefore, don't get me wrong, there are times when under promoting is necessary. When instead of promoting to a queen, it might be better to use a knight. Context is necessary. But in this case, the queen can do the job of the rook and the bishop. So it's the same thing like you and me. Why are we just doing a 9 to 5? No, man. Do something else with your life. If you want something different with your life, you have to do something different in your life. So therefore, don't be like Israel Adesanya, where you just stick to the striking. What if the striking don't work? What happens if the striking don't work? Because there are some people that can shut down your effective range. And you usually catch people on the end of the punches, at the end of your kicks. What if they come too close? And now your effective range is cut off. That's what Strickland did to Israel Adesanya. How does that apply to what we are doing? Don't just be about your 9 to 5. Be flexible. Don't just be a rook. Don't just be a bishop. Be a queen. That way you can deliver an attack on all three sides. So for example, if you're running a business, make content too. If you're an entrepreneur, make content too. If you're an artist, make content too. If you're a teacher, make content too. Don't matter. You're a mangaka, make content too. That you're in charge of, so that nobody can take that from you. Because in a 9 to 5, the money is the gift that they give to you. But in your 9 to 5, your entrepreneurship, the money you give to yourself. I suppose this is